All right, here we are. We are the base nerd. And
Yes, nailed it.
I am Jody, and I am here with my good buddy
Mark.
Marcus. And
Wow.
today, could you introduce yourself, who our guest is?
Oh yeah, I'm Nicole Row. Play bass in
Hey.
Incubus. hmm
Awesome, awesome. Well, first off, thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast. We really appreciate it. Giving us a little bit of your time
Yeah,
and some of your
thank you for having me.
stories and stuff like that. I always say I don't really know where to start, so I just kind of go like, let's start from the beginning. What was like your upbringing? Was it like a musical household? Like, what got you into the bass? Like, where did it all begin?
Um, yeah, the bass came later. I was really into like singing and playing a teeny tiny guitar when I was little. And that was kind of all we had around the house. Nobody played music or was into music. Um, and I just kind of chased that for a while, and buying an instrument wasn't really like a conversation. You know what I mean? Like I had my
Yeah,
guitar and I could sing, and I would do that and carry that thing everywhere with me. But eventually my older brother got a drum set with a lot of begging, and that was in the house right next door to my room. And then we slowly became a musical household.
nice.
Piano, all the instruments started to come, and I started playing in like hardcore bands
Cool.
with my friends, and that's kind of how I started playing bass. It's just, I like kind of just fell into that, and then I remember it was just more of a love attachment, whereas everything else was like fun and like something I would dabble with. But then when I got introduced to bass, I cared a lot more. You know what I
Okay.
mean? It's like, oh, I want to do this like all the time, 24/7. Um, so yeah, I was just doing that for a while, and then I just kind of I was getting ready to graduate high school, and I lived in Fresno, California, which
Okay.
if anybody's been there, they know it's kind of like it's one of those places most people want to like leave, you know?
I got
So
you.
um not that I didn't
Shout
love it
out to
growing up there, but
Fresno.
yeah, we love it. 559. No, for sure. We still love Fresno, but it's just, it gets kind of dull. It's very flat, a lot of farms. And so I just moved to LA and went to a little bit of music school and started playing gigs. I was like in a casino band in Vegas for a while. I just kind of did that.
Whoa.
Yeah, I like did that hustle. I was just like, I would like go to jams and try to get up on stage and like, just trying to get
What's the
involved in the
music
music
scene like
scene.
in Vegas?
Oh God. Well, I don't know because here's what I was doing. I did not live there. I would drive to Vegas, stay there for my 4 nights of work, which was minimum 4 hours, like
Okay.
4 sets, like 1 hour sets.
Okay.
Um, I'd be up until 3 in the morning playing, and then I would sleep all day. So I never saw anything outside of like the hotel that I was staying in
Where
that
were
time.
you?
So
What place were you playing at?
get ready for this. The majority of it was at the Stratosphere.
The
Not that
Strats.
that's a bad place, but it's not the best. I saw some things I would like to unsee. Um,
I'm not familiar with the stratosphere. Like,
exactly.
Very. So my
Yeah.
wife is from Vegas.
She's gonna
So
know.
her mom and dad and brother and in-laws and all that are still in Vegas. So I
Yeah.
spend way too much time in Vegas, more than so I'm very familiar. But we're at the point now where we like always like will get a hotel in like old Vegas because it's grimy.
Yes.
Love
That
the
place is
place.
fun though. Old Vegas is
Right,
fun. Yeah.
right. And I used to do like the Monte Carlo or the whatever, or the
Yes.
Bellagio. And now
Yeah.
it's like, no, we're gonna go to the grime and the dirt and go to the White Castle on the corner of the old
Yes.
strip.
Yes.
And
Yeah. That's where the fun's at.
right, right, for
Yeah.
sure. So not to interrupt. So you would play there and then drive back to California?
Yeah. Sometimes like at 3 in the morning after playing, just because it was like, I need to get home. I want to go home.
get
So
me
then I
out
would
of
get home.
here.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I never really saw anything within Vegas outside of what I was doing. And then when I would get home, I would, go see friends and music
Right.
and stuff like that.
And
So
this is
I
like
don't know.
right out of high school.
This was I had to be 21
Okay. Right.
legally.
To
So
perform, right.
so this was like I
Wink.
went to MI for like 2 years, and then
Okay,
this was right after I graduated, like
got it. You're
immediately
like,
after.
oh, I got graduated. Now I'm gonna play at the
Yeah, yeah,
Stratosphere. I've
things
made
were
it.
weird for a while. Yeah, well, it was just sort of like, um, I got offered this gig, and I was like, I had just this story is insane. I had just decided, I wanted to be able to gig even more, and this is living in LA,
Mhm.
but I didn't have enough time because I had a day job working at an Urban Outfitters.
Oh, sweet.
Uh-huh. And I quit that job with nothing to fall back on, definitely not making enough money to pay my bills. And
Right.
I like let someone else rent my room in this apartment where I lived with a bunch of people, and I
Okay.
slept on the couch.
Of
And
the apartment that you're
of
renting.
the apartment. Yes. Yes.
Nice.
So I was like, I'm gonna make this happen. And so,
Right. Ah, that's something you got to do.
yeah. And then I got that gig, and then was able to pay my bills, and then I moved in with my best friend, and everything just started. I'm not saying I would recommend that to everyone. I'm sure
Sure.
that would not always work out. It worked out really well for me. Um, so yeah, I did that gig for a certain amount of time until I wanted to burn it all down, and then I quit.
Do you
And
not to
then
cut you off, but do
yeah,
you remember what you were getting paid to play those gigs? Like at the Strat.
I mean, at
You're
that
playing
age, I
four
was
one
making,
hour gigs.
yeah,
At,
I would walk away with after that whole 4 nights,
uh,
$700,
oh,
which for me as a 21-year-old, I was like, woo.
million.
I'm rich, dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Eh,
blow it all on craps.
Oh yeah.
Well,
No, I
and then you
never
had to
gambled.
spend what, like $50 or $100 each way to travel, right? Like for gas if you're going back to
You're also
California.
you're talking to the person like I would go to the bars and like jams and things that I was going to with like alcohol in my purse that I brought
Right.
from
I've been
home
there. Oh, I've
because
been
I
there.
couldn't I was like I'm not gonna buy it. It's
Right.
expensive,
That's
but I
like
need
that's
it,
like that's
you
like
know?
bringing your own sack lunch to Disneyland.
Yes. Yeah. And it worked. I saved
Right.
so
So
much money.
sensible.
I'll just take a Diet Coke and then add my own Jack to it. Well, I used to do that all the time.
Absolutely.
I did something similar in college. I was a fat stoner, still am, but like we would
High
go.
five.
There was one Chinese restaurant, and I was convinced that they had the best soft serve ice cream. It was just the best. It was just whatever they got from like the random like restaurant depot, like Cisco or whatever the fuck.
Right.
Oh
And
yeah.
at the time, uh, Frosted Mini Wheats had a new like strawberry vanilla flavor. And like
Whoa.
I was just like, I wonder what would happen if I brought these to China Star and mixed them with the ice
Wait.
cream.
And now I gotta, this,
It was so good,
It
dude.
was
It was
the
so
best
good.
shit ever.
It was so good. I like,
Ah.
no, my God, it was so good. Oh
is this
gosh.
Louisville China buffet?
No. This is Moorhead, Kentucky, Rowan
Oh my
County,
God.
Eastern Kentucky, in the mountains. Just a bunch of like music majors. It's a phenomenal music school for like band and orchestra. But yeah, oh my God, we would just
Have
get
you
ripped.
since tried to make that?
No, they discontinued
The
the
strawberry
strawberry
one.
vanilla.
Oh, they
I'm not gonna
did.
make my own frosted mini
No, no,
wheats,
no, no. That's
Nicole.
impossible. There's no way that would happen. But I was saying if you still had the ingredients, you can make it at home. But now
No.
it's over for
Yeah,
all of us. Yeah,
Kellogg's fucked me.
yeah, they
They
did.
got rid of
The
it.
world. They fucked the world.
That's right.
Really. Yeah.
All right. So now you did that. You were playing this Stratosphere
I don't
for
even remember what we were talking about
a
now.
while, and then you
Yes.
quit or left, or that band imploded.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And yet again, I didn't have anything to fall back on at
right.
all. I was like, I f I'm just done. And I quit. And then on my way home, I got called for an audition. Went to the audition and I got it. And then 2 days
Nice.
later, I left on tour. And then that's how I started getting involved in the tour circle.
Yeah,
Fucking
because
A.
I did a little bit of recon on you, and
Oh,
uh, I mean, you've played with like everybody, like who's coming up from like Miley Cyrus, toured with Miley Cyrus, played with Dua Lipa.
oh,
Not to mention,
never.
like obviously the gig now is you're like an official member of Incubus, right? Like they
Yes.
officially were like, you are the bass player, but you were
Yes.
playing with Panic at the Disco for like what,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5 years?
5 years.
5 years. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's an impressive resume for someone who is fairly young in music world,
I yeah, I don't really have a good when I think about it sometimes it just makes me laugh because I'm like I don't really know what happened.
Sure.
What happened? But yeah, I just uh it I would just make friends and do a gig and then a year later get called by somebody that I played with at that point and they'd be on another gig and they'd call me for that and then Instagram is also very helpful,
Yeah.
I hate like making content,
Right.
but it apparently
Your
works.
management's on the call like, what'd you say? What'd you say?
Excuse me?
What's that?
Delete that part. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's fucking true. Everybody feels that way,
Yeah.
I think. But
Oh, everyone does.
yeah.
100%. Ah, Joe! Get out of here, Joe.
Joe. Um, what was I talking about? Yeah, so but that's how I feel like that's how Ben knew of me.
Yeah.
Because Ben and I don't really know each other personally.
Okay.
Not yet. One day.
Oh, so
One
did
day.
did he like recommend you, or
Yeah.
you know how that? Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's what the guys said that he recommended me. So, yeah, just friendships and social media.
Yeah. I mean, you
And
feel like social media played a significant role in just like getting these kind of high profile gigs, or
I
like,
don't know about the like level, like the profile, this that kind of status thing, but I do know that there's the tell is like if you make a bass video and you haven't been posting for a while, you put that up, all of a sudden, like people are just like, oh yeah, like let's have Nicole on this next thing we're doing, and or like whoever, and they just reach out to you.
no.
Um, it's weird. It's very subconscious, I think, for
So
us
it was
all.
like, you're playing the Strat, but like touring with like Miley Cyrus or playing with
Mm,
Panic. Like, what was Miley like the first kind of like big kind of step up, or was there something before that?
I think a big step. I mean, I think when I first recognized that I was a step up from what I anticipated doing, because I never really had any like extreme, this sounds bad, but I never really had any like extreme goals. Like I was never like, oh, I'm
Sure.
gonna be a touring musician and I'm gonna work with like really successful artists. And that was never, it was always just like, I want to sit in my room and practice for hours.
Right.
That's what I wanted to do. Um, so I think when I started playing with Troye Sivan,
Yeah.
that Australian artist, the venues that we started playing were a lot bigger, and his following is his like fans are really into it,
Right.
and the music's very, synthy and vibey, and it was
Right.
just more of like a an experience where the fans are actually there to sing every line of the songs,
Right.
um, and that felt different. And then from then on out, it was just sort of like each gig was a little bit more,
Yeah.
exciting, I guess. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
I don't. I think we should circle back to like the sort of punk rock ethos of just saying like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do this." Like you said, you were in hardcore bands, like
Yeah.
kind of coming up. You want to talk a little
Uh-huh.
bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was such a short burst of time. I mean, I had,
Much like hardcore songs.
yeah, 30-second songs.
There's a connection there.
Yeah, it was something that, how do I phrase this? I started doing that because it was sort of the only outlet I found as far as playing and being with my friends. But the minute I left that hardcore scene, I realized I was not hardcore. Do you know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah, my playing style changed. I realized I like playing with my fingers. I did not, really want to chase the pick thing. And I brought my bass up real high and I was really into like R&B and soul music really fast. And um, but it was sort of like just this fun accident where it was like somebody was like, here's a bass. You're welcome.
Right.
You'll get there, like you'll figure it out eventually. But yeah, it was just like early high school days. I had like really short, like mullet, rat tail,
Mhm.
bleached and black hair, and like I was the whole ridiculous hardcore thing. Like I didn't drink alcohol for a while. It was like straight edge kind of thing, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. So
Mhm.
like you're, I mean, suicidal tendencies are
Mhm.
straight, down in Venice.
Yeah.
They also have a whole like roster, like a rich history of just excellent bass players who also like walk the line between R&B, soul, and
Yeah.
funk and stuff. Like, did you ever get like, have you ever like tried to put yourself out there for that call? I mean, obviously not now because you're in the midst of Incubus, but has that ever
Um,
been on the table?
Suicidal Tendencies with Raw. Is he still playing bass for them?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, are you talking about putting myself out there for like that world?
Yeah, for that world, yeah.
Not really. I
I
never really
yeah.
leaned that. I mean, I think it would be super fun, obviously, but I was much more in the past like couple years leaning more to it, like the like neo soul
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I would always last like 2 years of like interviews, people would be like, "Who do you want to play with?" I'd be like, "Erica Badu, call me."
Yeah.
It's
Oh
just
yeah.
different direction.
Yeah.
But I do think like bass players in general, like you can kind of it doesn't like you're not like one or the other, right? It's sort of the instrument itself kind of
Mm,
reaches into all those different avenues. You know
Right.
what I mean? It was like that
mm.
groove instrument. Um, so I mean, if I eventually, had to play with suicide tendencies, I would be like disappointed. But
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
but yeah.
So you're like in addition to being like one of the first calls for a lot of really awesome bands, I read somewhere that you were working under the tutelage of Ellis Hahn and Roger Sadowski. Is that true? You want to speak on that?
Um, I would love to know exactly what you're talking about. I kind of worked with Ellis a little bit,
So I
designing.
read
Yeah.
on Wikipedia, I think, that
Okay.
you were like under Roger. You learned how to construct bass guitars under Roger Sadowski.
Interesting. Wikipedia lied hard.
Let's go. I'm opening up Wikipedia right
Yeah.
now.
Time to edit.
Opening up on
Learned
my other
how to.
computer.
Interesting.
Scrolling down. Equip. Yeah,
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Are you
under
talking about my
luthier.
mod? Oh yeah, no, no, no.
It says under
Um,
luthier Roger Sadowski, Rowe learned how to construct bass guitars, and she began to design her own models with the guidance of L. Ellis Hahn and LEH guitars.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Interesting, because there are little bits of information that like if wildly misconstrued could get there.
Hmm.
But my Marcus Miller sorry, it's so funny. My Marcus Miller Fender jazz bass that I've been playing forever, it has a Sadowski onboard preamp.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And I love his basses.
Right.
Obviously, they're amazing. But that's like what I had available to me. I got that bass on like eBay. It was super cheap and it came with this preamp and I've been using it ever since. And even actually when we go on tour, we tried to make extra like backups of that bass, but they don't make that preamp anymore apparently. So it feels very precious to me now.
Hmm.
And Elle actually worked with me. We kind of were working together, like trying to come up with this neck for people with teeny tiny sausage fingers. Um, we did that a little bit, and we kind of lost touch over all the traveling and everything. But yeah, in a way, sure.
This is
We're here to set the record straight.
Yeah.
Don't believe everything that you learn
Yeah.
on the internet, folks.
I mean, that's a cool fact.
I mean,
Whatever.
this is just it's a cool fact. I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that
Yeah,
I
I build
worked under Roger
bases.
Sadowski.
No big deal.
Yeah, Wikipedia is not reliable. That's what we're getting at, right? It's
Yeah,
just not a reliable source of information.
but it's
So
fun.
that's
Yeah.
I'm glad we closed that chapter. So
well,
maybe
we are fans of Ellis,
Yeah.
and we had Ellis on the podcast
Mm.
maybe a year or two ago. Uh,
Hmm.
so I would encourage you to rekindle that relationship if you
I would love to. Yeah.
want to work on
Yeah.
a thing because Ellis makes an incredible instrument for sure.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Um, all right,
Totally.
well, so debunked Wikipedia.
I feel awesome. I feel so alive just
Well, I'll tell
debunking
so
A
the
rude
my
internet.
awakening.
well,
I
let's take
love
it
it.
one step further because I read on Wikipedia that you're a giant Sublime fan.
Oh God. Yeah, it's a problem.
Okay, so
Mhm.
Wait, it's a problem that that information's out there,
No,
or it's a problem that you
it's
have
just
as a
like this
Sublime fan?
weird thing that I like. That is the band that like I have memories attached to throughout like all of my childhood. You know what I mean?
yeah, for
Um,
sure. Do you have a favorite Sublime song?
it just depends on what memory I'm thinking of. Scarlet Begonias up in my mind.
That's
Yeah.
not a Sublime song, actually.
Oh, well, you
I'm
know what I
literally
mean.
I'm wearing a dead hat too.
Oh my God.
Said them like almost
I
middle-aged fat white guy. Like,
put
actually,
I put bells on my shoes and on my rat tail.
fuck yeah, it's so tight, so cool. But their version
Their
of
version
Scarlet
of all the
Begonias,
songs that they make versions of are awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's super fun,
You
super
know, I
fun.
think I wore out my 40 ounces to freedom CD a
Yeah.
couple times over again.
Yeah.
Like
I
that
know.
that album definitely was like on every. I mean, the first
Yeah.
time, 13-year-old Jody hears "Smoke Two Joints," like
Hmm.
sold. So what is
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. You're like,
Um,
yes. I know it. I remember I turned it on. I don't know what songs I was turning on, but we started playing some Sublime in the green room before a show. And it was the only time I like try to DJ different things, and I've never seen Jose like light up that
oh,
way. So
really?
like, and
Nice.
he was just like he knew all the words and he was dancing, and I was like, yes, got
Oh
him.
yeah, in such a short amount of time, like just so many great, like I mean, like just so many hits.
Hmm.
Like it's
Yeah,
awesome.
I
So
would
how
have
like
loved to see a live show. That would have been
what
Well, they're
with
back
Bradley,
touring with
obviously.
Bradley's kid.
Yeah, I still have not seen that.
Right,
I listened to and saw like, videos
right.
with Rome, who obviously was awesome. But
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of incredible how closely he sounds to
yeah.
Bradley, and I think there's a big opportunity. Like, I mean, I feel like Sublime has been touring; they've never stopped touring. I actually sold a bass to Eric, gotta be 12 years ago.
same?
Hmm.
Yeah, and when they would come through on tour, he would stop at the music stores in Chicago, and I can't remember what I sold him, but anyway, yeah, I feel like they've always kind of done their thing, but now they're getting this kind of like pop and this bump now that his kid is singing with him, which is, I mean, I think very cool. So I hope they continue to cultivate that for sure.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
About when did you first hear Sublime and like just realize like this is it? This
That's a
is
good
this is
question.
everything.
When did I first? I don't think I remember the first time. Um, Good question. I don't
Was
think I know. I mean,
would that have been like the transition out of hardcore?
no, it was before, during, after. It was, that whole like I was also into like Real Big Fish and Streetlight Manifesto, and it's like sort of this other angle of
Yeah,
things. But Sublime, I feel like it was very early on. I don't know if maybe it was something I heard in the car with my dad or what, but it was started at a very young age. It was like on my MP3 player, and I was like,
did your
Nice.
parents
it
have
into
like
my.
good taste in music?
They didn't they didn't really like listen to music. My mom was really into country music. My
Yeah,
dad liked classic rock. But because like, he liked a classic rock radio station. You know
sure,
what I mean?
right.
They weren't big music people.
Mm,
But I think it would have the only time I ever would have heard it would have been like in the car with my dad or like on our boat or something when we were at the
sure,
lake being being white people. Um, so yeah, I
very
wish
cool,
I knew that.
very cool. So I don't know what direction to go, but you did. I feel like, what's it like playing with Miley Cyrus? I'm a
Mm.
fan. Do you have any fun, quick stories about that, or do you hate her, or what?
Oh, no, 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 no. I was wildly surprised by Miley. She's like really she's the real thing. You know what I mean?
She
She's
seems so cool.
fucking
She seems
talented. Yeah.
talented, like
And
always,
she's
like
creative. She like knows
doing
what she
stuff with
wants.
Billy
Yeah.
Idol. Like, I don't know if you
Like
ever
it's no
saw
big deal.
right, like she's just always
Yeah.
doing something fun and
Yeah.
cool and like being such like, obviously a kid star and Hannah like I don't
But
really
she
know
she
that world of
survived it.
hers.
Yeah.
Right. And then like decided that like no, I'm Miley Cyrus and I'm gonna do some cool shit.
Yeah.
She's always doing something like covering a song that is awesome or
Hmm.
playing, obviously Dolly Parton is her godmother. All right,
Yeah.
that's cool. Don't get me like
Yeah.
that's great. But like beyond, she could be such a like I don't know what the best word to use, like a tool in this system with her
Yeah.
dad being who her dad is and coming from this like Disney or Nick, whatever she was part of as a child. But then like she blossomed into this like great vocalist who is always doing something cool,
I
you know.
know.
Um,
I know. And she goes through so many, she's already gone through so many different
right,
stages and phases of music. Her
right,
style changes all the time, and she's just, which seems to be a problem sometimes for a lot of artists trying
sure,
to do something like that. But,
right,
her whole crazy phase where she was like twerking on stage, and she's just like, her argument is like, everybody gets to be a teenager, and like go through that phase of being crazy. That was me doing it.
right,
I'm like,
right.
fuck yeah. Yeah. You're in the public eye. Why aren't you allowed to be a person?
Yeah. So did you
Yeah.
you just played with her for like a year or so, or how long did that project last?
Yeah, it was about a year. We were doing the Malibu album together, like, you know, promoting it. She didn't
Sure.
really want to tour it, but yeah, that was fun. It was like upright bass and
Yeah.
synth and electric and, the whole thing. Singing vocals, like background vocals with her, and yeah, it was very like minimal. You know what I mean? Like we did like fly dates and stuff like that. It was
Okay.
never
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
like gig, 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 gig.
Yeah.
So it was fairly simple, super duper fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the band is awesome, and apparently that's her band are the people that have been with her for a really long time, which is
Nice.
really cool because a lot of artists get an MD and the MD just comes
Right.
in and cleans house like
Right.
every couple months.
Right.
Um, so I really liked that camp. They're really good people. And
Yeah.
she comes into rehearsal like with thoughts and opinions. She's not there like once everyone else is ready
Yeah.
just to sing the song. She shows up and she's like, "No, I don't like that. I like this. Like do it different. I want to do this instead." She's
Yeah, she seems like a true musician's musician.
yeah,
You know,
she
she
is.
doesn't seem like just this like I show up and sing the songs and you guys know what to do. Like
No.
she seems like she has the music is important to her. You know.
Yeah, and the people. The music
Right.
and the people are important to her. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Hmm.
I have heard rumors about Brandon Urie of Panic at the Disco. Did you have the same
Mm.
experience working with Panic or
I love them. I love them.
really?
I love them all so much. Oh my God. Yeah. Everyone on that whole camp was so fun.
Yeah,
That, is the longest I'd ever been with a whole camp before.
yeah,
And it was very quickly, they're all a family. They've all
yeah,
been together for a long time and they have no filter and they're just like real people. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And B isn't really one to be like chasing the attention or like clout or anything like that. He's just there to like because he's fucking talented and he wants
right.
to have fun and everybody just like wants to play video games and like do
Yeah,
a show and then drink some beer and it's just like traveling circus is like a term that I use a lot now because that's
yeah,
sort of what all these camps feel like. It's just a bunch of people like having a really good time
yeah,
and making it work. But I love all those guys. I still talk to them and some people I see regularly and um Dan lives far away, so I can't really see him, but
yeah.
yeah, I
Well, I'm
miss
gonna
them.
start calling him B too, because
Yeah. Yeah.
because you were with them for what 5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining you did like some tour runs and like
Yeah.
did you do was there like a Vegas residency too or something involved with that or am I crazy? I must be
We
crazy.
didn't do a residency. That's where he's from. Um,
Oh, that's it because my wife was
yeah.
like, oh yeah, Panic at the Disco, they're from Vegas because
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so I mean
That's
we did like shows there and stuff and it was always a really big deal. Like his family would come and a lot of people.
yeah.
But no residency. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. And then uh like I said before we talked, like you are playing with a lot of killer people.
Mhm.
I gotta ask about Dua Lipa. I mean, if I
Yeah.
wasn't already married,
I
okay.
same.
Shut up, Jody.
If I wasn't
Dude,
a straight woman.
dude, come on.
I love. Listen, her music has some of the best bass lines out there.
Mhm.
Like
I
I
know.
love, like
So
so.
fun.
Yeah, fun to play, really good stuff. Like I
Yeah.
really like seek out like live video footage of her performances. I
Mhm.
think she did the Tiny Desk one where they're like in an all orange room. That's a great like set to watch if
That
anybody's
that
I
was
haven't
really
seen that.
sick.
that one.
Really
Yeah.
sick.
And off so I do a lot of like jingle sync music and
Cool. Yeah.
a lot of my wife is a producer, a music producer,
Oh,
and
sweet.
she'll be like, "All right, I need a Dua Lipa bass line," and I know exactly like
You're
what
like,
she's
yay.
kind of looking for. Like it's not
Yeah.
always easy to write that line and to
Yeah.
get it, but like she'll play me a track and go like, "I need a Dua Lipa like bass line," which is usually like this like finger style with like a pluck or a thump in the middle of it. There's like this
Yeah.
kind of almost like a formula for it. And
Uh-huh.
a lot of
Yes.
her stuff has like a lot of space in the bass line, so
Mhm.
they'll be like notey notey pause, note note pause, slap thump pause, like,
Yeah.
and it's not just like, four chords on a 16 bar kind of phrase.
Yeah.
So I really do appreciate. So what was like your eh, like experience working with Dua? How long did you guys do that? Was that
Um,
part of your
th
life?
there's a fun part of that, interesting part of that story is when I was touring with Troye Sivan, she
Mhm.
was opening, and that was before she got big.
Oh,
And I remember like watching her the very first day and being like, "Oh my fucking God. Like, who is this person?"
right.
She was nuts. She's like wearing these like sick ass outfits, huge like heeled boots, and she's up there just like sprinting around and jumping and
Yeah.
just killing it. And like her voice is so beautiful.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
her songwriting is wildly impressive,
Yeah.
She, like writing her own songs. And um, yeah, I remember we were standing side stage and Troy just looks at us and he's like, "She's gonna be so fucking famous in like a year. She's gonna be so fucking famous." She is.
Coming from
And
Troy,
she's
who's, getting tens of millions of views on all his
yes.
videos and songs, and
Yeah, exactly.
it's a beast in his own right.
She's super cool.
Yeah.
We all watched Trump get elected together and we ate frozen banana slices,
All right.
cried. Um,
Tears of joy?
yeah, whatever, however you interpret that.
We're all gonna die! Yeah!
Ah, anyways, yeah. So, and then where was I going with that? Yeah. So we worked together. We just did a video shoot
Okay.
that was kind of like for honestly, I forgot what that was for, but we just did a couple tunes. We tracked them in a studio, and it was filmed, and that was
And that
awesome. It
was
was
just
just because
because
she
you
was
guys were
flying to the
like kind of
U.S.
touring on the same bill, and then she was like, "Oh, she can play
Yeah.
bass,"
Well,
you know?
she has her band that she's kept
Right.
pretty much the same. Well, not fully, but when she was coming over to the U.S. to do that, she needed a band, so they hit
Okay.
me up to do it.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Is
Very
she
cool.
doing the
Yeah.
MDing as well?
Uh, mm, I don't know. I mean, when we were there, it was very like self-explanatory. Like there was nobody there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
MDing
Like,
the
hear the
project.
songs, learn them. Yeah.
But I'm sure she's got somebody. I mean, she's got a lot going on at this point. I'm sure she's got an MD.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, then it comes 2023, and you get a call, and
Mhm.
Brandon's on the phone, and he's like, "Hey, Ben recommended you."
Oh, Mike. And
Oh,
not
Mike.
a phone call. It's a DM on Instagram. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's how you and I met.
Yeah. Wait. Is it?
Yeah. So,
Oh, wow.
your bass tech,
Instagram.
your bass tech DM'd Sandberg,
Oh, yes.
and
Yes.
yeah, and immediately we're like, "Fuck yeah!" But
Yeah,
then I
so
was
was
like,
I.
just a quick side note. I didn't know who he was, and like from a manufacturing perspective, yeah, from a manufacturing perspective, like every manufacturer gets like so somebody at some point. will get someone saying, "Hey, I work for so and so," and then it turns out that they don't. And I was just like, yeah, I just gotta like verify a few things real quick. Can she just?" I was thinking, I was like, she's got a
Prove
verified
it.
account. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, just have her send us a DM, And
Oh
you
my
did like right away.
God.
And I was like, hell yeah, okay, cool, this is cool. But like, it like the internet and Instagram can be used for the powers of good,
Yeah.
much like
Yes.
what you were about to tell us.
Uh-huh.
So,
You have to be
So you get a
careful.
DM
sorry to
from
interrupt.
Mike.
Yeah, I want to talk more about this story, but yes, so we had just done our final date with Panic, and I was like heading to the airport to come home from Europe somewhere, and their photographer who I'd worked with on a different project DM'd me because he and I are friends,
Okay.
and he was like, "Hey, you need to go into your message requests because you're missing. Mike is trying to reach out to you." And so I was like, "Oh, fuck." And I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but my request folder is like backlogged, like it it'll show me things from like 2 years ago and then nothing. It's just all fucked up, basically. It's all
Okay.
messed up. So I had to like dig for a little while and kind of like search for Mike and find him. And then he was in there and what did he say to me? Oh my God, he'd be so mad at me for forgetting this. He was just like, "Hey, sup," or something like that. And I love that. I was like, "We're gonna be friends." So I responded with, "What's good?" question mark. And we just started shooting the shit from there. It was just really, which is the whole vibe of the entire band. Everybody's just like hilarious, and it's like a bunch of teenage boys, and
Well,
me,
again, because
myself
that leads me
included.
to,
Yeah.
it's been what, like a year or so now. So like
Mhm.
you're you're familiar and accustomed to the way that band kind of works,
And
and
the fans are
Yeah.
familiar with you as well.
right. And so like how to, and being an official member now, and I'm sure at a certain point like it was like kind of a like trial basis where like we're gonna
Yeah.
have you on, see how it kind of goes. I know like Tall was playing probably right before you, right?
Right before. Yeah.
And then that was what I think a couple months, right? And then you came along and you were like, well, maybe I'm just here for a couple months, we'll see how this kind of goes. And then you're like, all right, now I'm officially the person, and now you're catching your groove. Like, how has that whole experience been, and do you get along with like five other dudes on the tour bus?
Oh
Like
yeah,
it's,
for sure. Yeah.
we've all been there. It's a little rough sometimes, even.
Yeah. I don't know. I think my childhood was a lot of that because I played in bands and it was mostly just guys.
Yeah,
They're dirty and gross,
right.
and you just kind of learn to create your own safe space. Um, but no, these guys are, I mean, they've been touring their whole lives. They've mastered it. They're all very clean, very organized, very I found with Incubus and Panic, especially because there's no women in that core circle,
Yeah,
stepping into the projects for the first time, like the first chunk of time, it's sort of like this, sort of like when you first start dating and it's like really polite and you're like
right,
on your best behavior.
right.
And it wasn't just me doing that. It was them because, they're trying to be courteous. They're like, she's
Sure.
a woman and she's coming into our world and it's always dudes. And what does she think of us? And what if we say
Holding
a
in my
poop
fart.
joke? Yeah,
And
exactly. So it took some time of like, kind of us both like coming together and realizing like we're one and the same.
yeah,
Um, and now all of that's out the window and it's just like just fun, gross poop jokes all the time.
jokes. Oh,
Um,
Who farted first in front of you?
I feel like you needed to fart in front of
I,
them
you
first.
know what?
That's
Actually,
that's an alpha
this is
move.
a good question because Joe, I hope I can say this.
We
We
can
can
cut
always
it
cut
too. We can cut everything. Yeah.
it. I've been told that Jose has the craziest farts of all time. Like, not just in the band, but like just of all
Yeah,
time. Like that's what they make it out to be.
nice.
And it apparently happens all the time. I have yet to smell anything. So
Oh,
I'm
I'm
still under
clipping
the
this,
impression,
and
yeah,
I'm tagging him.
yeah,
No,
just
no.
I have yet to smell anything. So I still think there's a layer of, they're still on their best behavior, which I kind of feel like future me is going to be like, you should have appreciated that when you
Yeah,
had it. Yeah,
it's
but
out.
we'll see.
When the fury's been unleashed.
Yeah. Yeah. Once that's crossed, there's no going back.
Is
That
it a sonic thing or is it like
No,
just it's a
smell.
combination?
I
Oh, okay, yeah.
Smell
Who
thing. Yeah.
cares about the sound? I mean, we all care about the sound. Let's be real, but
That's
Sound
that's the only
is
thing.
important in a good way, but
it's the flavor that's
smell. Yeah. Oh
Ugh.
God.
Oh.
Whew. Oh my God.
I do want to bring up. So you said Mike reached out to you, and you guys have become friends and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I skipped over a
Have
lot of it, but
you met or discussed with him at all Hans Zimmer? Because he plays with Hans Zimmer, who
uh-huh.
I think is the closest thing that we have to like a modern day Beethoven. You know,
Yes.
um, has
Yeah.
he? Tell me.
He has touched on this.
Yeah.
Um
Well, because he was also
and
playing with Guthrie, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with Guthrie Govan, who is a monster on guitar. And I
oh,
think they were playing shows together with. I feel like I saw a concert where they were both playing. But anyway, I
yeah.
don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know a whole lot about that. He does bring it up sometimes, and I know that it just his heart swells every time he talks about it, obviously. And I'm just sort of sitting there like, uh-huh, you know? And I think like a couple times he's been like, yeah, Nicole, you should like come in. And like next time we're like, I'm like, uh-huh. Put me on speed dial. I'm like right here. I'm ready to go. But that's kind of the bulk of what we've discussed about it. But
Yeah.
I am crossing my fingers for the
I,
minute where I get to be even just a fly on the wall in
well, you
that
got to be first
experience.
call when their bass play. I don't know who's playing bass for them or
I
Hans.
don't know.
I'm sure.
Dave Marks out of Ireland. He's doing the Hans Zimmer Experience
Oh man,
World
he's so
Tour.
good. That music is so he like Interstellar might be one of the greatest pieces of musical written like orchestral music ever written.
No offense,
Sounds like it.
Incubus.
Oh man, you know
Well,
what? I
listen,
gotta
I could
go.
go through a catalog of my favorite Incubus songs.
Oh yeah,
I think Dig is maybe
yeah.
my favorite Incubus song, and
Mm,
I mean, I remember buying Fungus Among Us like
yeah,
back in
totally.
whatever 95 or whenever it came out.
Yeah,
Um, Back in the day where you bought albums, but I think like Dig, I think Dig Me Up from Under What Is Covering the Better Part of Me is an incredible
yeah.
lyric,
Oh my
you
God.
know?
Okay. Yeah. So a few things I want to say. First of all, uh, B. I call him B as well because everybody else calls him B. Um, he is, which I never really realized this, but as I was like really studying everything, I'm like, he's a fucking like a master, like
Yes.
poet. Like
Yeah.
he's not just like writing lyrics to songs, like he writes really intentional, beautiful shit, you
Yes.
know? And he's like well
Totally.
read and well spoken and he just thinks so deep and he like exists like that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So when you listen to lyrics, you're like, holy shit, that's
Yeah.
fucking heavy, you
Yeah,
know?
no.
Yeah.
I think Dig is great. I think the Warning
Hmm.
is a really great song. I
Beautiful song.
vividly remember the music video for that with the girl who
Hmm.
just starts screaming in the middle of it and the whole world
Yeah.
kind of explodes around her.
Yeah.
Obviously there's like, you know, the the bigger songs that were also great songs as well, but
I mean, those were
um,
huge, weren't they? I mean,
they were.
Warning at
They
least was
were.
I remember
Yeah,
that
Warning was
being
a
very
pretty big one.
yeah.
Yeah, I think like was the album Light Grenades?
Uh-huh.
That I mean, like I had all the albums up until then, but that for some reason that album came out in a time in my life where it was just like I wore it out. You know, I just was
Yeah.
constantly listening to that CD.
Yeah.
I probably bought it two or three times because I would scratch them and they get so abused in my
Oh my God,
oldest
yes. God, I
escort.
forgot about that.
Yeah, my book of CDs.
Oh yeah,
But
everybody has
I
them.
feel like I must confess that like when so I have a sister who's 3 years younger than me.
Hmm.
So in like the 90s, my sister like fell in love with Incubus, right? And
Yeah.
so there was a period there where like I was into Incubus and then she got into Incubus. So then
Did you say she's
she
older or younger than you?
she's younger than me, three
She's
years
younger.
younger
Okay.
than me.
Yes.
So in our like my teens and would be maybe her early teens, she was like really she fell in love with Incubus to the point that like I started to like hate on Incubus back in the
Yeah, because
day.
she's your
She
sister.
was like
Yeah.
so good, and she you know she's drawing, you know, writing pictures in a notebook and writing the band logos and stuff like that. It's like, oh,
No.
you're such a dork. Incubus sucks, you know. But then like
I
so
hate the
there was
things
a
you love. Yeah.
right. Then there was a lull there where I was a little bit of a hater, and then it came back. You know, once I really started to become like into my own as a musician,
Hmm.
you know, into my like late teens, and it just like then it hit me again. And then like you're saying about bees writing,
Hmm.
I feel the same way about like Mike's guitar playing. Like I feel like
Yeah.
not that he's. I mean, I think people respect his playing, but like his style, the pet like effects he uses, like you can tell everything's like well thought out, very intentional. He's like
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
in the same way Brandon writes lyrics, I feel like Mike writes guitar parts, you know.
Yeah. He's a little scientist. He's like
And
freaking madman over there, just like all of his
yeah,
pedals and effects just
right,
boiling over and
right.
creating something.
And
Yeah.
Jose's playing like that.
Uh-huh.
So I did an album years ago, and one of the best compliments I ever got was that somebody was like, "This reminds me of Jose's playing in Incubus," and I didn't intentionally like I wrote a lot of the drum parts on the album.
Hmm.
I didn't play any of them, but I wrote a lot of the percussion parts and drum parts,
Cool. Yeah.
and it wasn't something I intentionally did. But as soon as someone said that to me, I was like, of course, yes, absolutely. One on it was like one of those things where somebody was telling me something I that was absolutely correct about myself, but I didn't know was correct about myself.
You think like it was a little bit influenced, maybe you like absorbed that from listening and you
For
kind of
sure.
like, oh, that's pretty cool.
One
Wasn't just
thousand
an
percent,
accident.
you know.
Yeah.
And then like I said, I wasn't like actively trying to write those parts in like Jose's playing, but
Yeah.
absolutely 100% I was influenced by that. And
Yeah.
it was one
Oh,
of
that's
the
cool.
it's a compliment I still remember to this day that somebody like I don't if it was maybe on Facebook or so, like somebody I didn't even know had mentioned it or said it, and uh,
Yeah.
it sticks with me to this day because
And you're like, thank God I did it. Yes.
yes, that's great.
Yeah.
So listen, if you can't do the Hans Zimmer gig,
Mm.
give him my number. I'll show up, and
So you're saying I'm next call? Did you hear something?
well,
What
whatever number you are, I'm below. You know, I don't know why
Yeah,
Incubus
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
call me before they called you, but
I mean, yeah, they thought about it, but I was
I
there
know why.
first. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
tell us a little bit more about Morning View 23.
Oh yeah.
So
Um,
what was that production process like, and how did that feel getting into that?
it was very out of nowhere for me. I didn't we were like having a meeting about something totally different and I just like B looked over at me and we're getting ready to go on tour and he's like, "Would you be down to record the Morning View album? Like the redo, like would you be down to do that? Like on the road?" And I'm like, "What? What?" Like, yeah. Yes, I didn't act like that though. I was like, "Sure, yeah, sure.
yeah, whatever. I
That's
got
cool,
time.
cool.
Whatever."
And then you go into the bathroom like when no one's like you're just like
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck?
that's awesome.
Um,
Wait, did you know that that was happening, or did they just
no.
casually bring it? They
I
just
had
brought
no
it up.
fucking
That's so
idea.
cool.
And maybe they'd been talking about it around me and I just didn't hear it. But no, they had because they had tracked live with Ben with the intention of, it was like a live stream and then they were like, "Oh, maybe like let's release this as like an album." And then like it started to change, and they were like, "Okay, now we want Nicole on it." And then I tracked to their recording and on the road. Like I'd be in like a storage container with like an AC just blasting and like trying to stay cool in the middle of this fucking hot ass venue and like tracking on like, my
Yeah,
little Focusrite.
really.
Trying to get it done. Um, and then when we got back, the guys were like, "Oh, now we want to like now we want to do it like right. We want to like get in the studio and like do this the correct way."
Yeah,
And then it started to just become way too fun. And, like we used a lot of the stuff that I recorded on the road, but there'd be things where it was just like, like textures needed to be different or like time, like grooves kind of laid differently, like if guitar kind of sat in different, and then I'd want to like retrack something. And so it was like 50-50. Some stuff was used from on the road and some stuff was like recorded in the studio.
yeah.
Yeah, at Henson. Um, yeah. So that was that was pretty wild. But all like alongside all that was just like the emotional component for me being like my kid self was like, this is sick. You know what
Mhm.
I mean?
I mean,
Yeah.
so what was the like what can fans expect from the record? Uh, in terms of any sort of differences, or what sorts of things are they going to notice?
Oh, I mean, well, I think people have already kind of, how long has it been out? Like a couple, Joe knows this better than me. It feels like it's been months, but it's been out for a little bit. And I
Mhm.
think it's for us, I think the biggest part was, things have changed. Their whole experience as players has changed and everything's very fancy now and it sounds fancy compared to the old album, right? The old album's like a lot warmer and you know, uh softer. And I think this new version is just like cleaner, edgier, powerful, like really, really powerful. Um and we have, there's female background vocals on it now, which I think makes a huge difference.
Mhm.
Um yeah, and I think you get to hear uh everyone has changed so much in that amount of time. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I phrased my question pretty poorly there because it came back. I know it came out in like May.
Yeah.
Um, I was just wondering, like, with the, I guess, different studio techniques, like different like vocal added parts and stuff.
Mm.
Like, what are like the sort of Easter eggs that you guys are excited about for fans who are like devoted to the first, the original release? Like, what are the new things you're just like, this is what I'm really excited about? But they're like little treats that are usually hidden in records like this. Can you
Yeah.
speak to
I mean,
that?
I can't speak to everyone because
Hmm.
they're the ones who were there for the original, and
Right.
I wasn't. So from my perspective, it's a lot more full. There's a
Mm.
lot more like extra twinkle, a lot of like extra sounds layered in there, and the textures are just a lot, like I said, more powerful and bright. On my end, like bass wise, I can really speak a lot more to that because I was very thought out and the way that I went about recording the bass. Um, I wanted to, incorporate everyone's playing. You know what I mean? So I tried to be Nicole. I tried to, emulate the original sounds and like effects and, his playing style. He plays like with a lot of slap too. And then there's the way Ben plays it live too. So it's sort of like trying to get all those things kind of squeezed in there. And I come from a very different uh, playing style. So I tried to, you know, squeeze a little bit of my like soul, R&B touch in there and like some, they call it sailing or yachting. I'm sorry, they call it yachting when I play. um,
Why is that? It's just fancy.
um, it was just something Mike said. He was like, he would like tell me when, like he'd be like, yeah, just go ahead and just take it out to sea, just yacht, just go yachting. And so now we like
Okay.
talk about boat shoes and like, yeah, um, yeah. So for me, it's like trying to not get carried away because the original album is kind of minimal.
Mm.
Do you guys feel that way? I feel like it is. It's like when you listen to it, you get drawn into the vocal a lot more because there's not like a lot of chaos happening around it. It's just very sweet and warm. And
Well, that album's also 20 plus years.
that's kind of what I mean. Like you can hear the decade. You know what I mean? Like you can hear the
Mhm.
time that it's being recorded. And for me,
Yeah.
that's the big difference.
And so you do you feel like you were given a lot of like freedoms, like in
Yeah.
terms of yeah, so like you weren't sort of expected to play exactly what was on the record. I mean, you already alluded to that, but
Yeah.
that's good. That's awesome to feel that because it's a much more, since you're redoing something, why do it exactly the same way? What's the point of doing it that way? You know?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I mean, I definitely went into it thinking it's important to people to hear like what they fell in love with
Mm.
to a certain extent, because it's already going to sound so different being tracked the way it's being recorded and, I mean they did that album in a house. So I don't
Was
think
Ben on
this was
that
in a
album?
studio.
Was
No,
no?
no, that was it was Alex,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. So of that like recording, is there a particular song or a part of a song where you feel like this is the most Nicole?
Mm, that's a really good question. I feel like phase is more me, very natural tone. The little like I guess it wasn't fully like improvised pieces, but the yachting in that is like a little bit more my direction in the way like I play and hear things.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think it would be that one.
Nice.
Just a phase?
Yeah.
Cool.
Hmm.
Very cool. I'll listen
Yeah.
for that. Is there like a section of the song, like, or just like just throughout the whole tune?
I mean the pre-choruses or like that song has like a weird section. So there's like the big long intro, right? That kind of like opens up really beautifully and everyone's kind of very textural stuff happening in there. And then there's kind of like those B sections. It's just like you'll hear it. It kind of like syncs up for the vocal to come in and like he's singing nice and quiet and then it opens up and he's doing his like fluttery vocals and that's where I can kind of like color
Mhm.
around it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's my happy place for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe switching gears a little bit to the live show, is there a particular song in the set or, the sets that you've done where you're like, okay, now I get to stretch out and really be me?
You're saying in the sets we're doing now,
Hmm.
like kind of the same concept.
Yeah, but just the
Nice.
live. Yeah.
Yeah, nice to know you. I definitely like that on the album. They were kind of like, okay, yacht less. You
Yeah.
know, I think we lost him.
Yeah.
But
Can you hear me?
we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Yeah, continue. It's something with my
Okay.
camera here breakdown. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Uh,
So nice to know you as one, and the live show, same thing, kind of opens up. For the live stuff, we always play Stellar for
Mm,
sure. And that gives me a bass solo, which is freaking fun.
yeah.
Um, and the other stuff for me, like playing Blood on the Ground, is like a different kind of opening up for me. It's a new experience, like lots of heavy, like turn on all the fucking pedals and
Hmm.
play with a pick, and I'm detuned, and it's just, I love that song. Oh my God. I have to fight so hard not to sing at the
Yeah.
top of that song. I just want to scream. Going hard.
You could always do that. Like you just like sort of turn around towards Jose
all
and
right,
you're just
sing
like,
off stage.
ah!
Yeah,
Yeah.
fuck you, Jose. Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't say that at all. Jose, I
That's what
didn't say
that
that.
song is.
Joe,
That
I
song is
didn't
like
say that.
that song is the biggest like slap in the face. Those vocals are so mean. I love it.
Well, that's super fun. Is
Yeah.
there like so you like to like turn on all the pedals during that one, and you're just like which pedals do you usually gravitate towards for that?
I love my dark glass micro tubes
Yeah.
and the
B3,
B3
B7.
no, the vintage micro tubes.
Oh, vintage
There's
mic.
a little silver guy, but
Right.
then the B3K,
Mm-hmm.
that like overdrive one, you know what I'm talking about? That big
Hmm.
black chunky one. That shit, it has like a, sorry, I keep swearing, getting all excited. It has a grunt button on
Hmm.
it, and I just leave that thing on all the time. I love that pedal. They're
Yeah.
so heavy. Sometimes I'll stack both of them on because the micro tubes, the vintage micro tubes gets like more of that like tinny. I feel like it kind of gets closer to like Alex's sound where he
Yeah.
was just like really like you could hear the strings like slapping against the bass,
Yeah.
Um, and then the overdrive, the other one is like just gives it more of like that heavy low end that I feel like people want, when we're
Yeah.
watching a live show. So
Do,
yeah.
do you like to experiment with pedal sounds
I
like on
never really
stage?
did. I love my like phase pedals and like chorus pedals and things like that. But I like prior to this, I was like one of those purists who was like, I could do everything with my fingers. I don't need pedals, which
Mhm.
is complete
Just
not true.
plug into Mike's pedal board and have him start
I
turning
know.
it on.
I know. Yeah. He's funny. He's always like, he does it's like, I don't want to talk about my pedal board. Like I don't even know what's on it anymore. Oh my God,
Yeah.
Mike. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's you get to like when you're first like kind of messing around with them, or at least how
Hmm.
I feel about playing with pedals and stuff is you like to see what it can do and you kind of treat it like its own instrument.
Yeah.
But after a while, when you are on the road constantly, you don't necessarily have like the space and time to do that, especially in a band such as Incubus.
Yeah.
Like that makes that response to that makes sense. I don't want to talk about my pedal board. Like, I use a Boss ME50B and just like let the
I
like
had one of those.
let my tech deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, dude, my tech. Today I just went in. I was having like all these problems in the last like couple months. We've been like rehearsing and writing and doing all kinds of shit. And I got him in one day, and he's just like this magician. Like he just went through and he made everything beautiful and clean. Got rid of all my buzz. Just like I, it's like one of the biggest spoils. Like anytime
mm,
I get off the road and I'm doing like gigs and I have to go
yeah,
back to like setting up my own stuff, like my own getting like fixing my own tech issues. It's
right,
not where I shine.
yeah,
Oh, shout out to Rem. Yeah.
yeah. Oh man, that's got to be so nice just to
Yeah.
have somebody else deal with that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like like if you want this is just an ongoing thing for musicians. Like we
Yeah.
want to be able to just enjoy the creative process and not deal with
Yeah.
logistics. And I read somewhere where someone was just like, I want to be able to like, I want a scenario where something is doing my dishes for me, so I can focus on doing music and not the
Yes, the
opposite.
AI concept, like
Yes,
build an
yeah,
AI, whatever that looks like, to
yeah,
do my chores, the things that distract me from doing all the fun creative parts of what I
yeah,
like, for sure.
right.
Yes.
um, and having access to really strong texts like this,
Yeah.
that's the dream for sure. And
Yes.
that's something that AI won't be able to replace, because you can't just like look under the hood with a lot of that and see what's wrong like you can with
No.
like real analog stuff.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, tangent. I'm really good at those. What about
Sidetrack.
like modulation effects and stuff like that? Do you like to screw around with those?
Yeah, I mean, we put like all of our like we just actually shifted everything over. So all like my modulation stuff is on my left now. I'm using like all my wah and envelope filter and phase and chorus and all that shit. And then I've got like a Pog, my Big Muff, the B3K, the microtubes. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I have going on right now. That's
So
majority of it.
I
Mhm.
have a question. Is
Yeah.
so like with a band like Incubus who's been doing it forever, like
Mhm.
the band itself, I'm sure has a giant like warehouse full of gear, right? Like they got guitars, basses, amps. So like is there an a bit like an ability for you to go in and go like, I'm can I try out these 3 or 5 or 10 pedals? Like do is there a way for you to like just go into the Incubus music store and go
Oh,
like, I want
man.
to try this now? Or I mean, do they own
So
amps and stuff? Like, is that how that works?
Yes and no. I mean, it's like there's stuff that has been accumulated for
Sure.
sure. But the stuff that's still in there, I think, is the things that it's like the Island of Misfit Toys. It's not like a, glorious stock of things. It's like sometimes if you're like, oh, I think I need this, you might get like some stuff that works, some stuff
Right.
that doesn't. But when I came in for the first time, um, Ben's stuff was all still in there because
Yeah.
he was not he was unwell. So all of his stuff was still there, and I got to use all his gear and his
Yeah.
pedals, and that was fucking cool. That was fun. Um, but no, I mean when I came in, it was sort of just like starting from scratch,
Bring your stuff.
bring my
Bring
shit
their
and
stuff.
like figure out what I need to do that
Yeah,
to
but
make
there's not
those
like an
sounds.
Excel spreadsheet of like here's the 20 bases that Incubus owns, and you can play
No,
any of them or
which
whatever.
I was surprised that they were like, I came in with my like F bass, my like super modern fucking
Yeah.
bass, and they were like, yeah. Like, really? Cool,
Well,
cool,
but
cool.
like Ben's you got a history of playing like Lakelands and
Yeah.
Six and
Yes.
a lot of like I mean I guess they're every bass has its own kind of thing and its own
Yeah.
unique purpose, right? But yeah, I was just curious because like I feel like I've seen or heard of like these kind of bigger bands who are like, well, here's all the stuff you have access to essentially, and you can play whatever you want or whatever. But
Mm.
you know, that's all great. But I also see myself as a musician going like, well, but this is my bass and this is really what I want to play. If
Yeah,
it
that's
serves
how
a
I,
purpose.
yeah. I mean, if it was up to me, I would just be playing like three basses total
Yeah,
and, we'd have backups, but
right.
I've never really had an issue like that before. But yeah, I would prefer it to be minimal.
Yeah.
I actually only owned one bass for like the majority of my entire career. And
Is that
I
the
remember
Marcus
like
Miller?
the Marcus Miller
Yeah.
one. And I remember I forgot what gig I was on, but they laugh and they're like, ah, you're gonna need more than that. Like, no,
Well, I
I'm
I guess that leads me
good.
into so like what are your kind of main bases right now that you're regularly playing
Yeah.
either studio or live or what do you got going on?
Yeah, so it's I mean now there's just something for everything. So there's obviously the Marcus Miller.
Yeah.
Um it gets a lot of action.
Yeah.
The F bases, of course. And then the Sandberg is now on there.
Oh.
So, no big deal or
Mm,
anything.
it's no
Happens
big
with
deal.
them. Yeah. Yeah. And
What are
then
you using amp wise?
oh, we're just using like a GK. Pretty standard actually. We were just talking today about getting like an SVT like 7 in there and like finally starting to like mic some shit up and like
Yeah.
like, you know, make it frustrating and a
Yeah.
little bit riskier. But yeah, it's mostly just like they're running all like one clean sound, one sound out of the pedal board, one, de-ice, and then
So,
straight out of the head.
yeah.
And it's just all blending together and um but yeah, everything is slowly changing.
Sure.
Like ever since I started, it's been like we do one tour and then the end of that tour we swap something in, something out, and then the next tour swapping something in, swapping something out. And it's sort of like getting closer and closer and closer to this,
And then do you feel like the
rock
band
band.
gives you kind of like tonal freedom to kind of pick what you want? Do they have a lot of
They
input on?
do.
Yeah.
They really do. Yeah, the only important fact that I know that matters a lot is that B really, really like listens to the bass
Yeah.
more than most things, it seems like.
Sure.
For his experience and his pitch and everything, So if he can't, like, he has monitors in front of him
Yeah.
that are just like booming bass.
Yeah.
It's wild, which has created a whole thing we're working on getting, like my ears dialed just right. Because like if
Sure.
I have too much of him, then I have too much of me, and then it's just,
Right.
whole thing. Um, but yeah, where was I going with that?
Just they giving you
Freedom.
freedom
Oh
to
yeah,
kind
freedom.
of pick your thing.
Freedom, baby.
Yeah, they gave me ultimate freedom, which I didn't realize was gonna make it so much easier when everybody's like, no, do this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
because you
Well, I
come
mean, I
in, you come
imagine
in
it's a
good.
little intimidating, like standing next to Mike, a guy who has all these pedals and clearly like takes his tone very seriously, right? Like,
I
so
mean,
you
he
know,
he would laugh though, because he does not give two fucks about gear.
really?
Not at all. He's just like he is his sound. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
sure.
Like he talks about how his guitars are just like
Just
they're
two.
nothing fancy.
Yeah,
Just like he just like wanted to swap from he didn't like the whole like being tied to a name
sure.
for his
Yeah.
guitars and he didn't like the way they were treating him and he was like
That's how it should be.
fuck that. Yeah, so he just
Yeah.
like had some shit built and that's what he uses. And it's not,
Yeah.
he his pedal same thing. Like it seems to me that he's not like working super hard to get a tone. It's just his tone. And he's like, everybody's like wanting to sound like him because he has this beautiful tone, but like it's not like he studied his ass off to like try to create it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just sort of happened.
He hears what he wants to hear, or like he's
Yeah.
got an idea, and then he just finds a quick path to that.
Yeah. He's just
And
got a good ear.
yeah,
Yeah. He
I
knows
mean,
what sounds good. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you could say that about like like Tom Morello was always playing like cheapo kind of weird 80s
Hmm.
guitars, and it wasn't. I mean, the guy could just pick up a guitar and sound pretty great at it, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
sometimes it's just sort of like what we consciously think sounds good versus not. It's sort of like what you do with it. Yeah, like nobody really needs the whole idea of like you don't need nice gear to sound good.
sure,
You know,
right,
you
right,
can accomplish that without it. It's lots of
Yeah.
ways. Yeah.
absolutely. And then so like on the album, were you using like the Marcus Miller, the F bass, just like a mix of whatever? Was there any specific instruments that you just used solely for the album?
Nothing solely. I mean, I used all the ones. We weren't with you yet. We weren't with Sandberg yet. So we used F bass. We used Marcus Miller jazz bass. Um, I think I used like an Ernie Ball bass for like
Yeah, Music Man.
what did we use? I think that's it. Oh no, I used a vintage P bass
Okay.
for one of the songs. I want
Yeah.
to say maybe it wasn't Blood. It's like Have You Ever
That's
or
always a good
Umbrella.
feeling though. Like recording like just something with an old P bass. There's just really
Yeah.
nothing like it.
Yeah, there's like a low mid frequency that you like cannot get from a lot of stuff.
So what I record all my most of my stuff with is I got a 74 P bass sitting back there that
Nice.
just like gets all the recording
All
love.
the love. Yeah.
I've tried every bass, and my wife
Mhm.
constantly goes like, "Nope, grab the P bass." Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the lawsuit base? What is that company
Well,
called?
there's a few. So there's the not Fuji Gen.
It's just T or something.
Oh God. Well, there are a
You
few
have to Google
companies
it.
like Ibanez was sued.
Yeah.
It was a factory that was making all of those like guitars and basses. Like uh, Greco was making copies,
Mhm.
of like Rickenbacker and
Yeah.
and yeah.
Which
But
also sick. Uh-huh.
yeah, they're super fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was one particular factory in Japan that
Yes.
like got hit with all these lawsuits, and then eventually, Fender was just like, "Listen, we need somebody to build our shit for us." So they like,
You did good. You
so in
passed.
like the mid '80s, so the mid '80s
Yeah.
and into the early '90s, you can find like Squire, like stuff
Hmm. Yeah.
that's made in Japan, and from what I remember like when I was talking to some old vintage heads, when I remember hearing, and this might somebody please debunk this if I'm not correct on this one, but there was some old uh like tools and tooling and parts and stuff that Fender had well, had just had this stock of, and they
Yeah.
just sent it over to Japan, just like, here's our shit to start you guys up to start making these things. And so there's a lot of magic in those Japanese made like 80s
Yeah.
and 90s like Fender and Squire guitars, and they're
Yeah, they
awesome.
kind of nailed it.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. I
Well,
heard one being played live like a couple nights ago. And I like went up, bass player was my friend, and I went up to him like, "What is this?" And he's like, "It's the lawsuit bass." I was
Yeah.
like, "I gotta get one."
yeah.
It,
Well,
yeah,
people don't know this, but
yeah.
I think it was the first year of the Squire line were
Hmm.
made in the USA. So there's
Oh,
1 year of Squire made. I know guitars for sure. It's like Strats that
yeah.
were made in the USA. I know this because I had one
Okay.
USA Squire. But
Is it
then,
like worth a bunch of money now or what?
they're extremely hard to find. I don't know that I don't think I've ever seen another one in person, a second
Yeah.
one. But it was a red Strat. Because my little story about me, my father had a music store when I was a kid, like a small mom and pop
Oh,
shop.
that's
Um,
really cool. Yeah.
so in the 90s, my dad had a music store before like eBay and internet even existed, type of thing. So we would get a lot of really like, I can't tell you how many Fender Rhodes keyboards came through my dad's shop.
Ooh,
Just
fun.
hundreds of them, and we would sell them for like $500
Oh
constantly.
my
There's
God.
and every 88 key, 73 key, the base models that were just like whatever 16 key or whatever they were,
Mm. Oh
like
yeah.
we had them all,
Like
whirlies,
glittery like things.
all every
Yeah.
version you can think of came through there.
Yeah.
We used to sell the roads like crazy. What else do we just saw like a lot of weird vintage things that you just like now comes I see on Reverb and I'm like, oh man, they're getting thousands and thousands of dollars for this stuff. But
Yeah. Reverb is
old
dangerous.
Leslie's and Hammond organs, we get a
Yeah.
lot because we were in the south side of Chicago, so we get a lot of like churches, old churches, organs would come through B3s, M3s, M1s, and they would have I would get chopped Leslie's and full Leslie's and all kinds of just crazy stuff would come through that shop all the time. So I wish I would have hung on to all of those roads.
That was my follow-up question. You don't have anything from that time
My Strat
when you were a
guitar
kid?
I have
Yeah.
from that time, and it's
Uh-huh.
like a Franken Strat part guitar
Cool. Uh-huh.
that like somebody came in to sell on consignment, and I kind of fell in love with it, and I kept it.
Mm.
And I still that would be like people like if your house is on fire, what would you grab? That's the guitar I think I would grab. I'm
Mm.
certain it's the guitar I've 10,000 hours playing on. It's worth hundreds of dollars. It's not like
Yeah.
anything special. It doesn't. It's like a Warmoth Strat, but it's got a lot of wear on it. It's all wear that I put on there, and it's
It's
my
like nice and
special.
dirty.
Yeah, it's dirty.
Yeah.
It's my guitar, and that's the one I could never really replace. Um, so yeah, I don't know how I got off on that, but
That's beautiful. I love that story. I feel close to that story. Yeah.
I
you
love
got
that for you.
No, I mean that's how I feel about my Marcus Miller. I remember I took it to I love this tech. I'm not gonna say his name. He's amazing, but he cleaned my bass and
yeah,
like he cleaned it,
yeah.
and I got it back and I was like I wanted to cry. I was like, what did you?
It's
No,
not the same.
it sounded so different. I
Yeah.
was brokenhearted. Yeah,
Well,
but
we recently did a podcast with Labella Strings in New York,
Oh yeah, yeah.
clip going around that I edited together of James Jamerson had Labella flats on his P bass, and after 15 years, I think broke this G string. Calls
after wait, how
Labella
after how many years?
15. He had flat wound strings on his P, but famously.
15
And
years.
after
Holy
15
cow.
years, he broke I want to say the G string. He called Labella and said, I need you to fix my string. And they're like, well, once it's broke, there's nothing
No
we can
fucking
do about
way.
it. And he was like, well, but they were like, well, we'll send you some new strings. And he's
No.
like, no, everything is in these strings. Like I
Yeah.
recorded everything out. These are the strings. The soul is in these strings. And there, Labella was like, sorry, there's nothing we could do about your broken
Oh.
string.
Wait, so then what happened? I
He
need
had to
to
get a
know
new
the
set of
rest of.
strings on his P.
Oh.
Yeah, because he was
And
like,
that's when
listen,
he quit.
that was the end. Um,
Fuck.
yeah. So you
That's
guys,
sad.
Incubus, going on tour. You guys are playing with Coheed. Wow,
Yes.
very excited
Yes.
about that band. We
They're
actually
fucking dope. Yeah.
have you hung out with those guys at all? Do you know them personally?
Hung out is a stretch. I mean, they opened up for us some point in time. We
Yeah,
played in the US with them like last year maybe.
nice.
Um, and they're awesome. Like
Well,
we would
Zach
come out
is
and watch
coming
their
on the
show.
podcast in like a week.
Yeah.
He's good when you guys are in town because you're coming
Yeah.
to town. I
Uh-huh.
reached out to Zach because he had been like liking a lot of our posts and stuff like
Yeah.
that just naturally, and I was like, hey, you guys are coming to town. Why don't you come do the podcast? And
Yeah.
he's totally down. So I think next weekend we're gonna record him when you guys are actually in town for the Allstate Arena. You guys are
Oh,
playing arenas.
fun.
You
Yeah.
She
Super
fucking
sick.
knows, dude. You tell her.
All right. Oh, my dogs are
um,
here. Sorry.
no,
Okay.
you're good. Well, I kind of feel like maybe getting into some rapid fire questions here, unless Mark
Uh-oh.
has something else he wants to talk about.
All I was gonna say was the year was 1989 to 1990 when it was made in the USA. The Squires.
There you go.
Hmm.
I looked it up.
They
89.
exist. They exist.
Anywho, but yeah, rapid fire, rapid fire.
So
Oh
we get,
God, I'm
if you
scared.
haven't watched or listened to any of the podcasts, we get towards the end of the podcast, and I have a list of about a dozen questions that are just fun, base related questions. And I just want your kind of jerk reaction response
Uh-oh.
to them. There are no
Okay.
wrong answers. If you'd like to pass on a question, you don't have an answer, just say pass.
Okay.
But all right, are you ready?
Oh my God. Yes, my dogs are.
Okay.
Oh. Guys, go away. Go. Go,
Here,
go,
wait,
go.
I'm gonna see if I can
Go.
lock you on the screen here.
Go.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. That's
What's your
probably gonna
dog's
happen
name?
again.
Wait,
Just
wait. What's your dog's name?
Scout, Leica, and Jack. Oh my God. So Scout is like a shepherd. Scout, come, come, up, up,
Oh yeah. Look at
Scout.
He's like,
Oh,
ha
next to
ha,
my
I'm on the podcast. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, he's a shepherd mix. He's totally psychotic. Okay, off, off, off. And Leica is Leica up. She's not gonna do it. She's like a 20% wolf, and the rest of her is like
Right.
shepherds. I don't know, but she's the most psychotic, obviously. But she's cool. And then Jack's just a husky. I don't know if you can see
Is
him.
the wolf dog like super dominant? Like runs
No,
shows,
she's a
everything?
puppy, and she's like very scared of everything.
Oh, my wife, her parents had a half wolf dog,
Yeah.
since passed because he was old. But everybody, all the other dogs would cower around this dog. They all
Oh,
like sensed that this dog was
had
not
wisdom.
not the same as them. And
Knew the ancestors. Yeah.
yeah, it was weird because you'd see the dog, like he looked kind of like almost like a husky-ish kind of
Yeah.
looking dog, and you wouldn't really know. But then when he would start to run, he ran like a wolf. And I don't know how to articulate how it's different than a dog running, but I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it was like with this smoothness and this grace that
Yeah.
I don't see out of dogs, where this wolf
It's
dog would just like was crazy.
they're
And
like lightweight.
yeah,
She can jump straight up, like
yeah,
super high into the air.
yeah. It
Oh my
was
goodness.
the dog also would like one time we went out there and we brought our dogs, and my
Mm,
wife had her dog who is all of 15 pounds,
yeah.
and we're just sitting there out in Vegas, and the dogs are out in the back, and then at one moment the wolf dog pins her little dog to the ground and
Yeah.
is like growling in his face.
Oh
But like,
no.
so I'd like if he wanted to kill the dog would have been dead, but it was clearly like,
Yeah.
I'm in charge here,
It's like, don't mess with
do
me.
not. And I'm like, this is
Yeah.
like a 15-pound dog. But then my wife's sister came out and started yelling at the wolf dog, and the wolf dog cowered. Like, oh my god! Like it was clear that my sister-in-law was the boss here, but that
Yeah.
dog had to make sure that the other new dog in the group in the pack, like, I'm in charge. Don't test me. But
Dogs
anyway,
are fun. Fix your camera, Jody.
did
Oh
it freak out
yeah.
again?
You
Oh,
keep
Yeah.
leaving us.
Fucking.
I wonder. So I
What are
bought
you, poor?
Oh wait,
Jesus.
I'm actually
poor.
using the most
Uh,
expensive camera. All three of us.
Nicole and I are like, dude.
Ugh, gross.
Uh,
An onboard camera. It's came with the laptop. It's no big deal.
There it goes.
Ah,
there we
Yeah, I'm
go.
using a Sony A7R3, guys.
I
So
feel
all
like
the
that just creates more problems.
it
It's
Yeah.
did.
the more fancy the stuff, the harder it gets.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, all right, rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, active or passive bases.
Active.
Do you
Sorry,
have a
Rem.
favorite fretboard material? Maple, rosewood.
Maple.
Um, do you have a favorite speaker size?
Oh. 12. Let's
Okay.
just say that. Yeah.
Do you prefer like amp combo, like head and cabinet together, or separate?
Depends on the gig.
Okay.
It depends if I'm carrying
Um,
it.
this is typically the hardest question for bass players to answer. Do you have a favorite bass player, or perhaps some of your favorite bass players?
Derek Hodge.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um, do you have a piece of gear you
Hmm.
regret getting rid of?
The pickups that were in my Marcus Miller jazz bass.
Were they the original ones that
I
came?
don't know what they were. I don't know what they were, but they got swapped out and then they got lost.
All right. Um,
Yeah.
hard case or gig bag?
Oh, gig bag. Yeah.
Do you have a preferred type of gig bag, like brand or?
Mono,
All right.
like the rest of the world.
Tube or solid state?
Solid state for the most part, but when I'm recording, tube. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm.
We might have touched on this. Your current bass rig, like amp wise,
Um, what?
what amp are you playing right now? Your
The
current rig,
GK, I can't remember the model number.
RB 2000 or something.
Yeah, something like that. And then we got 12 four tens, two tens, two 12s, four tens. I got my pedal board. I got my 5 string F bass. I got my Sandberg. I got my Fenders. Um, that's kind of what we're hunkered down on right now.
Cool. Do you
So,
have a favorite? We talked about this a little bit, but do you have a favorite pedal?
mm, my EBS phase
Okay.
pedal, phaser pedal. Yeah.
Do
It's,
you have a favorite string brand type size?
um, I'm using Labella right now.
Right.
We just went heavier in gauge, and I'm really bad at remembering what my gauges are.
Okay.
But
Eric will know.
Okay.
yeah, there we go.
That's Jared.
Yeah, but
Um,
heavier for some reason, even though it's my hands are very weak.
do you have a favorite hardware finish? Black chrome,
I like
gold.
natural. If it were like my world and I could control everyone else's needs,
Mhm.
there would be no finish, just like natural.
Like
Like
the you
sand
would
down the neck, just whole thing. Yeah.
so like the base would be, but then like what would your knobs be? Like
Oh, yeah, like your standard like silver chrome kind of thing.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, do you have thoughts and feelings about relict instruments?
Yeah. Uh, no. I every time I think of that, I just imagine that meme that went around for a while where it was like a bass being drug around by a truck.
Yep.
It makes me laugh. Fuck it. I think it's great. I think it works. People believe it. They do. Everyone does not know.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
true. And my point to always I like relic instruments is that
Yeah.
most of us, if not all of us, grew up playing on used instruments that were worn anyway. Like it
Yeah.
feels for me, I prefer an instrument that feels a little worn versus something that's very brand new. Un
Playability wise, yes. I prefer the worn feel.
yeah,
No sharp edges. Everything's, all the lacquer's worn off. I love
sure.
that.
Right.
Um, but as far as just for the look, could not care at all about the look, I
Okay.
guess. Yeah.
And then this is like my favorite question. And then last question I have. Now, Mark might come with some other questions that are unbased, not base related, but we'll get to that in a moment.
I
Is
lied.
the a band or artist you wish you could play with, either for an album, a tour, or whatever? Like, is there an artist you haven't played with that you would like to play with?
Yeah. I mean, it's been Erica Badu for a while just
Yeah,
because she excites and scares me. You know what I mean?
those bass lines.
Self-entitled witch. I love her. Yeah, the bass lights obviously, but yeah, it's the whole like vibe and experience around their music. Yeah, I'd say I'll just stick with that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And that's all I have for rapid fire, but I'm sure Mark has some. Oh, wait, no, I do have one more very important question before I
Okay.
give it to Mark. When you go grocery shopping and
Oh, I'm excited about this. Go. Let's hear it.
when you go grocery shopping
This is
and
the kind of shit I like.
you've got all your groceries and you put them in a cart and
Yeah.
you've loaded up your cart and you go to your car and you've unloaded all your groceries. Now you have an empty cart.
Uh-huh.
Do you always put the cart back in the cart corral or do you just like secure it somewhere, or just kind of leave it? What's your cart etiquette?
I care a lot about this. I
Oh,
care a lot about this. All right. I always take my cart back and I make sure that I like Scout, I'm talking about something important. Shh. I make sure that I like will stack it properly. I fold that like little, you know,
yeah, the
the
seat
shotgun
thing.
seat. I don't know.
Yeah.
You like push it back and if I can't find like if there's no area to leave it or if it's full, I will walk it all the way back to the store and go back to my car.
Okay. This is an
Yeah.
important question that has started a beef in the bass world amongst the bass
Oh,
nerds and Alan
really?
Stasic of Humphreys McGee. Uh,
Uh-huh.
we had him on the podcast, and then he was like, we were talking, and he was like something about, how I judge a human is if they take their cart and put it back in the corral. And him
No.
and Mark had
That's
this
so
beautiful
good.
moment where they were like, "Yes, that's the number one
The litmus
thing to
test, yeah.
determine a human being's worth." And if anything, if
I have another.
anything about me, the one thing you can always count on is that I will not lie to you. So in that moment, after they had their little love session, I was like, listen, guys, I gotta be honest with you. I don't always return the cart.
No, no.
So then
It can't be
Ryan
true.
hates me now, and we've had
Now
other
you're
we've
blocked. Oh
right now I'm
God.
blocked, so we have to add. It's now become such a thing where like now I post like stories and I tag Ryan in it of me like returning the cart or not returning the cart, and he does the same
Mm.
thing. Uh,
Uh,
so yeah, that's
has it altered your experience? Like, do you now take the
yeah,
cart back every time?
a little
A
bit.
little. Okay, I have another one. I feel like you can learn a lot about people's trust issues if they refuse to use their blinker when they're trying to get over on the
I'd
freeway.
always do that. I always do.
Yeah.
Ooh.
If you have like, I feel like it goes both ways. Like if you feel like you can't trust people, you won't use the blinker because you think if you use the blinker, they're gonna speed up and not let you in, right?
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then it goes the other way too. Like you're a horribly untrustworthy person if someone turns on their blinker and you just get in that space.
Oh
It's
yeah.
I love watching like the drama that happens on the freeway. Like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Oh, there's an account. I think it's called I5 Commuters that I
Oh
highly
no.
recommend, Nicole.
All right.
Highly recommend that account
High five
because
commanders.
they mostly drive on the 5, and
Yeah.
that's where like the carpool lanes go all the way up to fucking Washington, right?
Yeah.
And they're just shit talking these cars who are trying to get in, but it's the double line,
Yeah.
and they
Hmm.
can't. I highly recommend that account for you. But that's it. Yeah, I'm gonna. I think like the same thing about parallel parking. Like if someone's
Mm.
trying to parallel park, people who like do the bum rush or they like try to go around you while you're just trying to
Yeah.
park instead of just fucking stopping. It's the
Yeah.
same person. It's the same person who doesn't return the shopping cart. Jody.
Yeah. Those are
Right.
terrible
Well,
people.
so all right, that was my last question. Now Mark is going to have some probably like food related questions.
I
So
love
I'll make
food.
these quick because it's clear that Scout has to go potty. So
Oh, it's he's fine. He wants me to play with him. That's what's
okay.
going on.
Well,
Yeah.
that leads me to my first question. All my questions are off the cuff. So Jody has like a list and he's proper, and I just kind of make shit up. But you got 3 dogs. Which one's your favorite? They can't hear
Oh,
my
no, this is
question.
an easy answer. It's Scout. And here's why. There's a
Ah,
real reason.
yeah.
Here's why. Quickly, my boyfriend's dogs are the other two.
Ah, there it
So,
is, right
like
there.
they're my children,
Yeah.
but
our
Scout, I
stepchildren.
found Scout and we had a connection
But
and I
did
brought him
did
home.
Scout find you?
He
You know what I
did
mean?
he did. That's actually the truth. That's a bumper sticker.
Who saved you? Who
And
saved who?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's
Jesus.
so excited. He's like, "Yeah, I'm the
They're
best."
they just wrestle at my feet all the time. That's what they do. So,
Approximately how much hair are you like getting off of you each day?
I have you ever had a robot vacuum?
Oh yeah, I got one now. Her name is Edie.
I have two of them, and I have to
Holy shit.
change. Those bags are supposed to last 7 weeks. I
Yeah.
change them about every three.
Every 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Holy
it's just
shit.
dog hair. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
madness. Yeah.
And because they're all like they all seem like they have some sort of like husky or husky adjacent
Yeah.
thing going on. So that's just a shitload of hair.
It's a
Do you
fuck
own any
ton of
black
hair.
clothes?
I do. I
You,
have a lot of lint rollers in every compartment everywhere all the time.
what's your favorite brand of lint roller?
Are there brands of lint roller?
Yeah, though there's different styles, right? There's like the proper lint roller with like the sticky lint tape that you got to peel off and it's
Yeah.
gross. But then there's also like those like lint
Oh,
devices
the
that are
like
like silicon
foamy.
base.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. I have the old, well, I don't even know where I get them. I just have tons of them. But they're all
Mhm.
the sticky paper ones, which is
Mhm.
super wasteful and terrible, but that's just
Yeah,
what my
you don't
life
like the
is.
environment, it sounds
I
like.
hate it. I hate the
Yeah,
planet. I hate
fuck the
trees.
planet.
Yeah.
So I know that you're a fan of yard work. What's your favorite yard work chore?
Wait, how and why? And did we
What?
discuss it?
We
Yeah.
did discuss this via text. It was brief. You had
Oh.
texted me. I didn't get back. I thought I got back, but I was in the middle of yard work at the time. You're like, I love yard work. I'm so
Yeah.
jealous.
I don't do it a lot. I do it when I get to be in Washington, which is my woods house. But my favorite part of it is like pruning all of the I like talk to my plants and like take the dead things off and like tell them that they're beautiful, and that's like the weirdest thing I've ever said out loud. And also
No,
my
man, no
favorite part.
judgments here. That's awesome. I'm dead serious. I think that's lovely. Jody is judging you because he works in construction.
Yeah.
He kills trees to do for his job.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, I
slice
use
them
a lot of
down.
lumber for sure. Every
Yeah, yeah.
die because I'm building things for sure. That's true. Uh,
Well, do you
Look
have a
right
favorite?
back.
Do you have a favorite tool with which you prune or
I
do your
have
yard
my
work?
little shears that I love, but I also kind of do a lot of just like hand pulling.
Yeah.
Do a lot of that. Yeah,
Are
but
are
oh,
you
I
growing your?
discovered this weeding tool that I didn't know exists. It's just like got these prongs and you just drop it in and twist it, pull. That shit is awesome.
Like
Yeah.
when you pull up a bunch of roots.
Yeah, and it just grabs
Oh.
everything and lifts it out, and it also
Mm.
feels
Mwah.
like a weapon, like when I'm holding it, it's just like powerful.
That reminds me, like every time. I mean, every time I watch any sort of action movie, I'll go to the fucking fridge and I'm like, "Hua, hua, hua," I'm like just like
Yeah.
opening it. It's totally different.
Hmm.
Like have you ever experienced that while you're using that
Yes.
device, killing
Um
terrorists,
uh, No, but I did have an experience
ripping
where
their spines
I
out?
we were at Henson Studio, and they had this like they have like place is vibey as hell, and they have these like fake fur blankets, and I put one on because I was cold, and then I just took on the personality of like this Viking, and I was like, this is right. This is what I need in life.
I am
So
Nicole Merker.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You get it.
You look the part. You got the hair and the complexion for it.
I think I could be, yeah, I could do one of those TV shows. I'd be down with that.
That sounds
Yeah.
fucking sick.
Right?
Well, Nicole, that's all I got. I usually go into food things, but I was more interested in tools and yard
chunky
work.
peanut butter or creamy peanut butter?
Oh shit.
Creamy.
Oh. Reese's
Like
Pieces.
creamy?
Yeah, she said creamy, and that's the correct answer. Reese's Pieces or Reese's peanut butter cups.
Cups.
What's your favorite pizza?
Margarita.
Margarita. What's your favorite
Hmm.
margarita? Frozen or on the
Oh,
rocks?
oh, on the rocks, but like a ton of salt.
Oh, you're so all right. You got about that salt life,
Yeah.
dude. All
Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
Okay. Salt life, that's a thing. Some people put sugar on their margaritas, and that
No.
just wrong.
No,
I
in fact, if there could be no like real extreme sweetness in my margarita, that's the best. Like I
Yeah.
want it to like kind of burn and like be tangy and just limey and.
Oh, you're going to be in town next weekend. There is a place called Parsons Chicken and Fish, and they do
Yeah,
a Negroni slushy, and so I think that might be right up your alley.
that sounds
If you
good.
like the
Have you been?
floral and lack of like sweetness.
Yeah, okay. Have you been to Roadside Taco
No.
in Studio City? I recommend it
Okay.
if you're in the area. It
Okay.
obviously this area. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
Good.
shit. Thank you so much for taking the time to
Yeah, of
talk
course.
to us and, you know, um,
Where do you want people to
share your
find
thoughts.
you? How do they
Yeah.
find you?
Find me. I'm really only on Instagram. I
Okay.
I try not to spread my wings too far
Yeah.
outside of that.
What's
So
your IG handle?
Nicole S. Rowe.
All right. And how do you spell row?
Sorry, Rowe.
W, right?
ROW. Yeah, NICOLESROW.
Awesome.
And it's not Nicole's Row. I don't know why everyone seems to think that my middle name starts with an S, but I
Mm.
won't tell you what it is because it's
It's
embarrassing.
shit house, isn't it?
It's yeah.
Slapping the bass.
Your
Yeah.
parents were like, we should name her Latrine. And then your dad was like, oh, let's cut to the chase. Let's just call her shit house.
Yeah. Oh shit house row.
All right,
It's gonna
Awesome.
Nicole.
stick.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. I'm very jealous of the time you get to spend with the boys at Incubus. And if for some reason you can't do the Hans Zimmer thing, just let me know.
Oh yeah, no, let's just keep telling ourselves that that's happening.
It's manifest, baby.
So, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
all right, cool. Well, then I guess I will stop recording at this point. Let's
Okay.